Let me put it like this. As a massive fan of FromSoft, Souls-likes, and the action roguelike genre, I'm in the dead center of the Venn diagram of the potential audience for this game. I had fun playing it, and I think, at worst, this game will be a fun diversion for a couple weekends with my friends.
5 more minutes! 5 more minutes!
Yeah, it probably will be like a 9 out of 10.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. That was a lot of fun.
I really did have so much fun playing this.
This has been so fun. This has been so fun.
It was definitely like a lot of fun. I'm very excited for the full release.
I'm so excited for the full release though, man.
I look forward to launch.
Elden Ring Nightreign's network test is over, and it was definitely an experience. I've played Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Elden Ring. I've not touched Demon Souls and Bloodborne just yet, but with those that I have played, I never opted into their network test, so going into Nightreign's, I had no idea what to expect. How the servers are going to be, how much of the game we're going to see, etc, etc. And I want to start this impressions video off by saying, I am not sponsored, I have not been paid to say any of this stuff, but my channel does revolve around Elden Ring and Souls-like content, so do with that information what you will. So right away, the roundtable hold being the main hub makes sense. It's familiar. I enjoyed it, and has all of the class characters you can talk to, as well as changing your character, swapping around your relics, and practicing in the sparring grounds. Changing classes in the sparring grounds are a given. The biggest thing are the relics. You receive these puppies after a run of Nightreign, win or lose, you receive some sort of reward, and I think this is great. It's obviously the roguelite aspect of the game that will enhance your character to be much stronger at the start of the game. I've always been such a fan of roguelike games ever since Binding of Isaac came out in 2011, so to see that genre placed here and getting my hands on it feels really good. There was no meta progression available with the mercs that you get at the end of each run. These will be used for buying relics or gamba away your precious winnings to possibly be something stronger, and I like that. I love risking my life out on the oil rig to bring home relics for my family, yes I'm the child, to then be swayed by a pot friend to gamble those earnings away. It's a masterful system. Now from the center grace we jump into a game. The character select screen is pretty basic, but I found myself realizing after queuing into a game that I wanted to use new relics or swap relics around from character to character, and you can't do that in the character screen. A very small nitpick that doesn't matter too much, you just need to be more aware of what character you want to play. Having only 2 seeds during this network test was a little bit disappointing. I think many people really wanted to see how the game would change, the cycling variety of the map, and overall environmental changes as the days progress, but hopefully that will be available upon full release. This being a test, they wanted to make sure the matchmaking was up and running, issues and bug reports fixed, and balancing of the game. And I'm really glad they were able to fix the password matchmaking by the second day to see how well it would hold up. Since the game was based off 2 seeds though, by the end of the test, you really knew where all the bosses were and the hotspots to hit. But that didn't mean that you couldn't have different builds each time because loot was always random. I had runs with Loretta's halberd, starfist, meteorite staff, and hook claws, weapons that I wouldn't normally use, which actually feels really great. One of my favorite concepts of Nightreign is the variety of builds and weapons you can use in such a short period of time. Full games of Nightreign last about 45 minutes, which means you're pumping and dumping it at an alarming rate, but just enough to get a feel for a category of weapon, the weapon itself, and the build you're aiming for. I played Elden Ring for over 400 hours and maybe used 50 weapons total out of the 311 weapons, and that's just in the base game, not counting DLC. So this really gives a chance for many people to go out of their comfort zone to try new styles of play that they normally wouldn't. I used to be a very dex-based player and shifted to strength midway through the binge of Elden Ring. Not once did I have a thought to use magic or do a mage playthrough. But the Recluse class in Nightreign was so interesting and compelling that I had to play multiple runs with her, which meant I was using a variety of different spells that I had no desire to use previously. I can see it being even more fun when you're in a call with friends to try and coordinate what builds each person wants to use, or stacking builds together like having a team of only Frost or Lightning users. And I didn't think the builds and runs could be more complex than just finding better and better weapons, but many of the items having these passive buffs attached to them actually made every run and build more and more interesting. Having a two-handed weapon and trying to seek out those passives that buff two-handed weapon damage or health on kill or critical hit damage, every weapon, no matter how trash they were, could have a really great passive that you would want to hold on to until the end. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that. While talking about builds, we should talk about the combat. Every enemy and boss is pretty much the same as Elden Ring. They changed around Morgoth's kit a little bit, and their newest boss, Gladius Beast of Night, is a great addition to the boss roster. Getting to fight Centipede Demon after so many years brought back tons of nostalgia. In general, it's really fast-paced, very overwhelming at first because every second matters. If you fall behind in levels or items, you're in for a tough upward battle ahead, but I really enjoyed that feeling of being rushed. unmatched. It's something you don't feel or experience in a Soulsborne game or Souls-like game very often. Elden Ring is very much so a world to explore and smell the roses and enjoy every sliver the world has to offer, while Nightreign is like being dragged to Walmart at 1 a.m. to get the best Black Friday deals. It's fun, it's exciting, it's an experience. That doesn't mean it's for everyone, but that's okay. Luckily for me, I found it to be a really fun time as this inevitable pressure, the Nightreign Circle, closes in as the game makes you decide whether to keep a piece of gear or weapon or item. 15 minutes may seem like a long time for each day, but it really flies by. And while receiving gear and loot hits my dopamine receptors in the G-spot as much as the next person, I did find the consumable items to be a bit cumbersome. Like, there were just too many of these consumables that would drop at every location. The pots, meats, and greases, I probably used the most, as well as the foul foots a few times. Poison darts I tried once on a day 2 fight with Morgott, which were actually pretty handy, but I don't think I used a bolus during my entire 15 hours of playtime. There were just too many items overall, and I wish those were a little bit more limited because they would get in the way of trying to pick up a specific weapon or even trying to open chests at times. Last thing for items and builds, merchants. In the network test, Seed 1 merchants were different from Seed 2 merchants in the items they sold, which was fantastic. I can't confirm if every merchant on one map has different gear or if it's the same gear in general for that run. Please let me know in the comments if you know the answer. And upgrading your weapon seemed to be pretty difficult. Tier 1 stones were fairly common. Tier 2s were found in the mines and tunnels where I barely even went. And a side note is that you can change your map to view the underground tunnels and pathways, unlike Elden Ring. Spectacular addition. As for legendary upgrade stones, I also didn't find these, so trying to rank any of your weapons to purple or orange rarity would take up a good bit of your time and might not even be worth it considering the amount of purple and orange drops you would find throughout the world. Can you imagine spending all that time and hard-earned runes to upgrade your weapon to then find the Dark Moon Greatsword right around the corner? Time to talk about the map. I spent a lot of time in Elden Ring running around to find different features or different aspects of the main game that are interesting, like where the carriages go or where the rivers come from. So this was very important to me. I like the base for Limgrave. It's inviting and very nice on the eyes. While this was the only map we were able to experience with the 2 seeds given, I have high hopes for this map to be ever-changing as the days move along. Even the idea of jumping into different types of maps with varying biomes from Caelid or Altus or Mountaintops will be fun to see. Really the only information I can go off of is speculation, and hope that that's what will play out in the final release. We did see many different areas shown in the release trailer, which makes it feel that speculation is much more of a reality. Areas that have magma, swamps, whole cities that form, which would add great verticality to the game. That's what I'm really excited and hoping for. I don't think I would want a menu in the Roundtable Hold that says, jump into Caelid to fight this Night Lord. I don't know how much I would enjoy that compared to a completely random run where you're dropped into mountaintops. Then day 2, Altus forms. Then day 3, face a completely random final boss. And even at that point, you're maybe given a choice to go into an NG Plus run where you keep your gear from that run, but start another, more challenging run with the team you have. That's actually where I would want this game to go. The benefits of going into NG Plus is obviously better relics and rewards and conforms to what many Souls players know and understand. It fits and it's not too dissimilar from the FromSoft formula. So I think while there are only a few seeds shown and both being their Limveld area, there's much more to see. FromSoft has always downplayed their games. We saw that directly when Shadow of the Erdtree was supposedly going to be the size of Limgrave and found out that really wasn't the case. And I think this network test is once again downplaying the true scope of what we'll see on release. I could be totally wrong in suggesting that, but this developer hasn't once shown me incompetence. I personally played Dark Souls 2 a few months ago to really form an opinion of that game and to see why so many people aren't fond of it, and I enjoyed it immensely. Is it the greatest game FromSoft has released? No, but that doesn't mean it's bad. So as I reach my final thoughts, I think there's been a wild amount of unneeded criticism about the game, from Souls purists and from other communities. Also the fact that many people write off the game for being a roguelike, even before the network test happened. Like, here's 10 roguelike games that I've enjoyed, play all of those, and if you still don't like roguelike games, then I'll accept your write-off. And I can't tell if it's the loud minority, but how are people comparing this game to being like Fortnite? Now I love a good Fortnite match from time to time, but this is way better than drinking a chug jug and double pumping ninja. The fuck you say? Also, this idea that reused assets are a bad thing, you realize that every developer does that, right? Even so, Monster Hunter has been doing that since the beginning of time with Rathalos, and that shit is peak. This would also be the first time seeing any of these older bosses in a later game besides maybe Ornstein in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Regardless, it'll be an amazing time to face Nameless King again and relive those fights. Well, not relive exactly. He beat my ass back in the day. But I think the game overall will be great on release and a fantastic game to play with friends. It's definitely directed to people who maybe don't have a ton of time to finish an entire playthrough of Elden Ring, and instead want to feel a schmeckle of that through this. And I think that's what it does really well. It allows you to have a strong weapon, level up without the thought process of putting points into vigor or dex or faith, a slice of Elden Ring for a more multiplayer focused person, while still having many fun aspects that any Souls player can enjoy. So mark your calendars for May 30th, people. Nightreign is coming. Never rambled long enough. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.